There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hello BookTube, I'm Sean the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am back at the farm. You will get to see Saskatoon, the city, probably next week. I'm not going to be back out at the farm for a while after this. But here I'm back at the farm. I just got set up with a different view. It's a cloudy day, which I love, but seconds before I turned on the recorder, it started to spit rain, but we'll see how far I get. I might have to move indoors or onto the deck. So this might just be a brief glimpse of outside on the farms around here, including and especially my father's, desperately needs rain. So I hope this Friday Reads gets rained out and I have to move and take shelter. But I think I can still manage. So how do you like my new blouse? Eh? I freaking love it. I remember to bring it out to the farm. It's the first time I've worn it since I tried it on in the dressing room. And you're gonna have a new one for the next several Friday Reads. I have had a great week with not that much reading. I do have stuff to say because I started stuff and finished one book. So I'll get to that in a bit. I haven't found an apartment, but have been looking, got leads on. Well, it keeps changing because unlike Japan, where they always say what floor the suite is on, in Saskatchewan on Kijiji, which is the new Craigslist, I guess. That's a new thing since I left 13 years ago. They don't say what floor it's on. And so, you know, at the certain stages of the process, I finally remember to ask, oh, by the way, what floor is it on? And do you have an elevator? And I've lost interest immediately in a lot of otherwise fantastic sounding apartments because they were on the 3rd floor with no elevator. And I, with my poor lungs and other health issues, I cannot manage 3 flights of stairs regularly. Once in a blue moon, but not on a regular basis. It's beyond me. 2nd floor, maybe, but I don't really want that. Main floor, that's what I need in my advanced age. So, still looking. I have one viewing for sure, and it's the one that I love the best because it is 1 block from McNally Robinson, the independent bookstore that I love and that I've featured on my channel before. So fingers crossed for that. It's a 2-bedroom, air conditioning, dishwasher. It's an older building, which I don't mind at all. In fact, I kind of prefer it as long as it's, you know, got all the conveniences like air conditioning and a dishwasher. And apparently it's quite large, but I haven't seen it. I'm going to see it Wednesday, and if I like it, I'm going to fill out the lease. So I hope to have good news for you by this time next week. Other than that, I got a cell phone. I wasn't going to get one, but of course you need one if you're going to be looking for apartments and looking for a job and stuff. But I got the basic, the $15 a month plan. No data. Just enough to get some phone calls and free texting any time of the day. And stuff like that. It's been fun, but it's been all-encompassing and exhausting. So my reading time is first thing in the morning. My jet lag is still with me, but much less so. But I still wake up really early and wake up before Mom and Dad do. So that's when I get reading time or video editing time. And then once they wake up, then, you know, I'm visiting with them, and that's fantastic. And we're making all these plans and phoning about the apartments and this, that, and the other thing. And the day is just gone. So I'm not going to probably do a whole lot of reading until I find an apartment, and then it will pivot, is the new trendy verb. I will pivot to job hunting at that point. Not being a very practical person, I never bothered to tabulate how much income I will still have coming in on a monthly basis from Japan. As I told you before, I'm still doing Zoom classes with many of my students back there, and I had never bothered to do that tally. Well, I've now done it, and it's over $1,000 a month. So that's at least a third, if not more, of what the income I would need to survive. So I'm quite pleased with myself. I only need to find that much more, and I'll be all set. So that's what's going on. Miss Kenji, talk to Kenji every day. He's working on immigration stuff, and I have a whole bunch of immigration stuff. They want everything. They for the government wants all my stuff, all my financial information and income tax, all that stuff. So I'm gonna have to get my Japanese income tax translated and blah blah blah. I don't know if Kenji's gonna get here this year because the stuff might not be ready, but it will be what it will be. But I'm in a fantastic mood. I'm having a great time, and I'm not even bothered by the few raindrops falling on my head. So getting used to Canadian food again and enjoying so much of it. My mom's homemade bread and red skin potatoes is one of the things that I'm just pegging out on because they don't have those in Japan. Strange people that they are. Asparagus from the... I'll just turn this around. There's one of the asparagus patches between those rows of caragana trees. Can you see it? As most of you probably know, asparagus is a perennial. So my great-grandparents planted that row of asparagus in 1915, and it's been coming up every year since. Well, later in the day, I realized that the footage was not nearly close enough, and now my dad's mowing the lawn. I'm going to take you right to them. These are caragana trees, and those, whatever they are, flowers, we used to eat them as kids. You know, not for survival, but just for fun. There's the asparagus patch, the oldest one. I think there's still asparagus yet to be picked. Maybe not today. Well, there's one or two. There's one more over to the left. So there you go. And Mom is cooking a turkey tonight because she knows how much I miss turkey, not having been home for Christmas for maybe 4 years. It'll be 4 years this Christmas, so I don't have to wait until Christmas 2022 to have turkey. I'm having it tonight. How lucky am I? All right, I think that's enough chit-chat. Let's get to the books. I'm doing this by memories because my second iPad didn't charge up for some reason overnight like it was supposed to, so I don't think I can do it from memory. I have finished one, no bails, started two. So let's start with what I finished. I'm really tempted to try and do a full review, but I probably won't have the time and energy this month, so I'm just going to talk about it at some length here. I finished this that I read to Kendra and Lindy, Woman Running in the Mountains by Yūko Tsushima, translated from the Japanese by Geraldine Harcourt. Loved it. It's probably my favorite, and I love the other two novellas. This is more of a full-length novel, and this was published pretty much just after the last one I read, so I could see a maturing of her style and her vision, and just adored this. It's a bit of a Marmite book according to Goodreads, but I think it is one of the best Japanese novels I've ever read. And as I said, I read it on Voxer, chapter by chapter, to Lindy and Kendra, and Kendra's a bit behind, so we don't know what Kendra thought, but Lindy and I both loved it. It is about a young single mother. She's not a high school student, but she's barely maybe 20, 21, and she gets pregnant, having an affair with a married guy, and she never tells him and that she's pregnant. And her parents, she's in a horrendously abusive family situation. Her father is a drunk and violent, and they fight regularly, physically fight, she and her dad, when he's not out drinking, and it's just the worst. The mother is just out to lunch, and the brother's not much help. So now it's starting to rain a little harder. Am I gonna have to move in? Maybe. So if you've seen any of her novels, they all have photographs like this where light is a central part of the photograph, and it's a central part of her writing, and it was just fascinating in this story. Okay, I'm gonna move maybe onto the balcony. Hang on. All right, I'm now on the deck, and it's pretty scenic. How do you like those flowers? I don't know what they are, but they're flowers. And light is the central kind of image with which Yūko Tsushima deepens the portrayal of the central character, Takiko. Just gorgeous, very emotional, very feminist. I love the writing. A couple people on Goodreads said they weren't impressed with the writing. I thought it was fantastic, very simple, straightforward, no frills, but powerful, and or translation. It was just the perfect time for me to read this and also to share it with Kendra and Lindy, because I kept editorializing about things that I thought my experience of those things, having lived in Japan for so many years, would add something, and according to Lindy it did, and it was a great way to kind of tie up or finish up my sojourn in Japan. I started it in Tokyo and finished it early last week in Saskatoon. It was evocative of Miyako Kawakami's Eggs and Breasts, or Breasts and Eggs, but I'd say far better. But maybe that's just a matter of preference and the fact of my age, but I liked Breasts and Eggs, didn't think it worked completely as a novel, and this was just a fantastic novel. I hesitate to use the word feistiness despite loving it, but I think it's a bit of a cliche, but I'm scrambling to find a better word for the stubborn unconventionality of young Takiko as she made her own way in maybe 1970s, 1980s Tokyo, being a single mother when that was incredibly rare and stigmatized, and resisted the advice of her mother to get an abortion. And I don't think it's a anti-abortion novel in any way, but there was a lot of stuff about her. She wanted this child, damn it, and she was going to raise it her own way, and she was going to find happiness in small moments. And there's no man that comes and rescues her, but there is a man that she gets emotionally involved with, and that was just beautifully rendered because it was awkward and true to life. Most of the important connections in our lives have nothing to do with the conventional relationships that we are supposed to slot ourselves into, and this relationship between her and the man that she meets at work after she becomes kind of like a landscaper. It's not exactly a landscaper, but working with potted plants and going out to the mountains, and her inner life was richly rendered and very rich in and of itself. So I just can't recommend it enough. Yūko Tsushima is, I would say, my favorite Japanese writer. I love her even more now that I've read this, and I can't wait for subsequent novels or any other novels to be translated. But sadly, Geraldine Harcourt died very young a few years ago, and so I don't know if she had other translations finished before she passed away, but can't wait for more. Oh yes, and there is a new podcast that just launched a few months ago. I think it's called One Bright Book. I'll put the logo up here, I'll put the link in the show notes, and they did one of their first episodes on this novel. I listened to it, but I stopped early because I didn't want to get any spoilers or whatever, and I haven't gone back to listen to it again. But Dorian Stuber, who's been on my channel at least twice, is one of the three co-hosts, and they had a fascinating discussion about the book, so I'll put a link to that episode in the show notes. I am now ready to announce what the second book in the Black South African Writers series that Bob the Booker and I are doing this year will be. I have read enough to know that I want to finish it and talk about it with Bob, and Bob, the voracious book maniac that he is, has already finished it, so I better get with the program here. It is Scatterlings, and I did look up the pronunciation, so give me a sec. Alright, I've just looked it up again. I believe it's pronounced Rešoketšwe Manenzhe, and it was published in South Africa in 2020. Won some prizes. I managed to find a hard copy, a paper copy, online about a year ago maybe, but I don't know how easy they're to find. They're certainly available on ebook, which is probably how most of you will find it affordably. Manenzhe is a chemical engineer, writer, and novice pizza maker. This is her debut, and it opens in South Africa in 1927, just as the miscegenation laws, anti-miscegenation laws came in, and the central characters, at least so far, I'm very early into it, are a mixed race couple, very, I don't know if upper class is the right word, but very well respected. I think he might even be an elected member of the South African Assembly or whatever, with his black South African wife and their kids. And so they are really nervous, even though it appears that the legislation, you can grandfather yourself in if you can prove that you're married. And I'm not sure that they are going to be able to prove they're married, and they're very nervous. And that's how it opens. And so far, I'm getting a deep sense of the black South African wife's character. So I think it's going to be nuanced enough, and Bob said it has a lot of interesting things to say about colonialism. So that sounds pretty good. So I'm going to attempt to contact the author and invite her for a Zoom chat. But if that doesn't work out, Bob and I will be having a Zoom chat just between the two of us. Because I'm so busy, I probably shouldn't promise that it will be recorded until July sometime and go up hopefully in July. So if anybody wants to read along and before that goes up, please join us. Scatterlings by Rešoketšwe Manenzhe. I have started and I'm absolutely loving How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherie Jones. I've double-checked the pronunciation. It's Cherie Jones, Barbadian novel from last year, I believe, that many people loved, including Karen of Run Right Reads, and I'd forgotten that it was actually Scott of Gunpowder Fiction and Plot that first sold me on it. I have read the first 2 chapters, plus the prologue, and the audiobook is to die for, so I'm doing it as a audio text combo, and it is glorious. There's a criminality, the theme of criminality, but it's centered on the women, so that's okay, because if I was stuck in some criminal dude's head, I would lose interest very soon. And I can't say much more than that. Just I love the writing, and I love the fabulous Barbadian accented, I'm assuming she's Barbadian, the audio narrator, I don't know, but certainly the Caribbean accented audio narration. And I have also got a bare start on the New Zealand queer Maori novel, Greta and Valdin by Rebecca K. Reilly, which I'm doing on ebook. That's the only way anybody outside of New Zealand can get the books at the moment. And I'm reading it to Kendra and Lindy. And I have read the first 2 chapters and fallen deeply in love with both. It's 2 part Maori, part Russian, part something else New Zealanders. They're both university age, they're siblings, they're both queer. It's really funny. It's been hard to read out loud because I keep chortling away, but that's a good sign. The writing is whip smart, and the characters are already fascinating. I can't wait to see where it goes. They're both got kind of broken heart issues. Greta is in love with somebody who doesn't know she's alive, except that they're friends, but she otherwise the young woman doesn't think of her in that way, or so it appears from her chapter. And Valdin had a kind of messy breakup where the guy that he deeply loved didn't think he was all that interested in him and moved where? I forget. Moved far, far away from New Zealand, and he's pining for him. And there's just so much humor in it. So that's my early reaction to that. I think it's going to be a hit. Rebecca K. Reilly also sounds fascinating. She is Maori or part Maori, and I'm going to put a link to her website because she is a character, and there is a mock frequently asked questions, but I think it's actually frequently unasked questions where one of her friends or whatever asked her a whole bunch of rambly questions that were kind of reminiscent of the Soggy Expat Book Maniac tag questions. Some about reading and writing, but others about what's your favorite kind of chair and stuff. And it was not only entertaining, but she had some very interesting things to say about writing characters and what she thinks makes a good novel and stuff. So I would recommend you start there. And I think there might even be excerpts from Greta and Valdin on the website. I don't remember, but go check out Rebecca K. Reilly's website for more information. So that's it for reading. I meant to show this last week. I ordered off Etsy some bookmarks. I ordered them in Tokyo, had them sent to Mom and Dad's address. They are filthy bookmarks. That's literally, I think, the name of the Etsy store. I'll put a link to the Etsy store and stuff in the show notes. Yes, filthy bookmarks by Bookie Weirdo. There's the little sticker. And there is the thing. I got them because I found one. I was looking for anything that was anti-Putin, and that's what brought me to her page. This is the one that got me into it. Fuck Putin. But she's got a lot of other great ones, so let's just look at them, shall we? BDSM, Book Discussion Study Meeting. Of course, Book Slut. I think there's a BookTube channel named this. I Touch Myself. So, if you want filthy bookmarks, you can go have a look at Sasha, aka Bookie Weirdo's Etsy store. I think that's all for now. Thanks for watching.